Nation, what's going on? Let's talk about Tyler Lockett, and let's talk about the potential of trading for wide receiver DK Metcalf. Today's show is presented by Panda Supps. Use code DRAFT for 25% off at pandasupps.com. Check out their brand new Super Nootropic. If you're somebody like, I don't know, me, and you just keep getting Raiders news one after another, and you need to stay focused, Super Nootropic is going to help you do exactly that. So what we're going to talk about coming up here on today's show is the latest around the Raiders potentially signing Tyler Lockett and also being interested in trading for DK Metcalf. So the news happened today. Lockett announced that the Seattle Seahawks are moving on from him, which I don't think is all that surprising. It was expected that Seattle would move on from the 33-year-old receiver after a year where he had 49 grabs for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns. What's important about this is the Raiders are 100% interested in signing Lockett. If the Silver and Black decide to bring Lockett to this team, they could sign him today, just like the way that the Raiders signed Alex Kappa today. Now, the reason why that this is such an interesting connection is because of the Pete Carroll, right? Pete Carroll drafted Lockett. Lockett obviously was a great wide receiver for a long time in Seattle and did a lot of special things. The Raiders are also a team that has been reported interested in looking for a wide receiver 1. I do not think that Lockett is a wide receiver 1. DK Metcalf, who we'll discuss here in a moment, is a true 1. But for the Raiders, they want extra wide receiver depth. And this is a team that is looking for extra wide receiver depth. So my question to you out there is this, because I know if I ask should the Raiders trade for DK Metcalf, everybody under the sun is going to say yes. But the real question is, should the Raiders sign Tyler Lockett? Give me a yes, give me a no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and I am making it the pinned comment because the Raiders could sign Tyler Lockett today. The reason why I'm going to sit up here and say, yes, I would be interested in the Raiders signing Lockett is because of the connection with Pete Carroll, the relationship with Carroll, but also we've been talking about bridge quarterbacks all offseason. I kind of would want to use Tyler Lockett as a bridge wide receiver for somebody young, almost like a Trey Tucker. We know that Tucker's got all the talent in the world. Like, he is an extremely athletic and talented wide receiver, but he needs to get better at being a wide receiver in the National Football League. And if I was the Raiders, I would look at Lockett and I would say, hey, we would bring you in on a short-term deal, but you got to show Trey Tucker the ropes of what it takes to be successful. If you want to add extra competition to that wide receiver room that doesn't have a lot of talent on it right now, you make Tyler Lockett your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, let him battle it out with Trey Tucker, and you let both of those players get on the field and get some work. I do think that Lockett is still a better receiver than what Tucker is right now, and I think Lockett would be better in 1 year, but if you gave him a 2-year deal, gave him a lot of guarantees in the first, kind of like that Kappa deal that you could easily get out of in that second year, and then you hand the keys to the car to Trey Tucker to see what he's got. I don't think that that's a bad idea, quite frankly. Now, if Lockett wants something like, I don't know, $6-7 million a year, no, I'm not really interested in that. And I know right now in this Raiders wide receiver depth chart, you really only got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, he's going to hit the market. You have Ramel, Keaton, Foreman. The Raiders also brought in Kyle Phillips, the first ever recruit that UCLA had with Chip Kelly. And I see the Spotrac market value at $7.7 million for Lockett. I'll be honest, I don't love that number. Where I would sign Lockett if it was a little bit cheaper. Now, if you told me it was 2 years, $14 million, and they're going to give him a lot of guarantees and easily get out of the contract, still don't love the idea. Maybe like 2 years, $10 million. That's kind of what I'm thinking, which maybe is not enough to go get Lockett. But if the Raiders do end up giving him a deal for $7.7 million, I'll say that you got to have the idea that you're also trying to build a little bit of a bridge for Trey Tucker. But Lockett is an upgrade over Trey Tucker in year 1. For that reason, I am at least interested in this. But going out and signing Lockett does not mean that the Raiders shouldn't go out and add a true number 1. Signing Lockett means that you still got to go out and you got to try to find a legit number 1 wide receiver, which maybe the Raiders decide to do in the draft. Maybe they decide to look at a guy like Chris Godwin, or maybe they decide to bring in one of his teammates and DK Metcalf, and we're going to talk about that here in just a moment because you probably clicked on this video to hear about Lockett. But Lockett's not going to be a reason why the Raiders win a Super Bowl. And I know throwing out the term Super Bowl is insane for the Raiders. But if you had DK Metcalf, it at least gives you a chance to keep it going because we got a lot of money. Extending Max Crosby and going out making a trade for DK Metcalf tells the entire NFL world the Raiders are serious about trying to win football games this season. And I know it's super crazy to mention Super Bowl. I also, though, have been kind of crazy about Focus Super Nootropic from Panda Supps. And if you want to get your hands on the product that's making me as awake as what I am right now, 25% off at pandasupps.com. You just got to remember to use code DRAFT down below. Now, whether you're a gamer, whether you're having a work day, or you're a student and you need to help get done some of that late-night homework, I'm telling you, Focus from Panda is really going to help you do that. The Super Nootropic, the way that I would explain this to people is if you're somebody that needs a lot of caffeine, I drink a lot of caffeine. I'm not afraid to admit it. But there are times where I got to say, all right, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have another cup of coffee. Maybe I shouldn't have another energy drink. When you use nootropics, this is something that's going to wake up your mind, where caffeine is almost designed to wake up your body. But sometimes when you have too much caffeine, it doesn't even work anymore. For somebody like me, and I do work a lot, and I know a lot of people out there work a lot, but if you're somebody that needs to be able to wake your mind up and get it going really quickly, nootropics is going to help you do that without the crash. Energy, memory, focus, you can all get it at pandasupps.com, code DRAFT for 25% off. Also, if you are located inside the United States and you spend over $100, we are also going to throw in this Panda Supps bag and a Panda Supps shaker 100% free if you spend over $100 at pandasupps.com and if you use code DRAFT. So now let's talk about DK Metcalf, who requested a trade from the Seattle Seahawks today. And obviously, Metcalf has been somebody that we've talked about a bunch on this show, and obviously he's been connected to Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are interested in adding a wide receiver one. That is a report that we talked about on yesterday's live show. It's a video that I also was planning on putting out later on today, but so much stuff has changed. It's TBD. I'll still probably put it out, though. I'm not going to lie. But when it comes to DK Metcalf, if you end up getting this trade done, okay, if I'm the Raiders and I trade for Metcalf, I would say that you would also want to go out and give him a 2-year extension. Why is 2 years important? He's already got 1 year left on his contract. And for the Raiders, you got to be thinking, by trading for Metcalf, I'm tying him to Pete Carroll. Carroll's got a 3-year deal with the Raiders. So a 2-year extension, I would say you'd be somewhere around 3 years, $97 million in total, with $85 million guaranteed. That's going to seem like an outstanding large number. But if you're the Raiders and if you structure that contract very similar to the way that the A.J. Brown deal was ended up structured, you're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. So the A.J. Brown deal, he's got, which was a big one. And the reason why I'm looking at the A.J. Brown deal is because Brown signed a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was 3 years, $96 million. But because you can add void years, because you can kick stuff down the road, A.J. Brown is under contract with Philadelphia until the year 2034. But look at his cap hits. The cap hits are low. And this is the way that I would want the Raiders to design DK Metcalf's deal, where lower cap hits in the first few years, backload the shit out of it. But as long as the salary cap keeps going up and up and up, you're not going to get into a situation where it really matters all that much. So if I told you right now that all of it cost you was a third-round pick, would you do this trade? Because originally I would have said, it might cost a second-round pick for DK. Now the fact that DK has requested his trade, that means that value goes down a little bit because everybody knows that he wants out of Seattle. One team to keep in mind that could really boost this price up a little bit is the Chargers, who are also being reported as interested in Metcalf. Now, I'll admit, I said this and I hate admitting it, that the Chargers did something smart, but even if you're the Chargers and you're not interested in Metcalf, it's smart to leak out that you are, to drive up the asking price for a team that you obviously know is going to be interested with the Raiders. So would you make this trade right now? DK Metcalf, you also got to pay him the contract that I was just talking about, and Seattle gets pick 68. The Raiders also have pick 73. You can tie in any third-round pick, but technically, usually, teams want the higher pick of the round to get that trade going down. So would you make this trade? Give me a yes. give me a no. Quite frankly, if you say no to this trade, I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I don't think you know ball all that well. He is a damn good wide receiver at 28 years old that wants to block. That is a field stretcher. And when you think of what's really important in a Chip Kelly system, DK Metcalf fits that mold perfectly, and he already has a great relationship with Pete Carroll. I made a promise to the nation. If the Raiders pull off this trade, hell, I might do the entire show without a shirt on, because Pete Carroll and DK Metcalf, when they met, they literally took off each other's shirts, and I didn't even know that you had this picture. Shout out to Chugs for being able to pull this one real quick. But, I mean, that's the type of dude Carroll is, and that's the type of relationship that they were able to build extremely quickly. And you know what? If I look like that, shit, man, I don't know if I would even own a shirt. I feel like I look like this, and y'all have seen me without a shirt on a bunch of times. So DK Metcalf requested a trade. The Raiders are no doubt interested in the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver. If anything ends up going down, if they end up making a trade for DK, we will go live on this show. And honestly, I would like our DK trade stream to do bigger and better numbers than what our Devontae Adams did. Because I'm sick and tired of telling people one of the streams that I'm the most proud of is our Devontae stream. Let's end that. Let's get an even bigger one with DK Metcalf and make us forget about Devonta Adams ever coming to the Raiders. If any other big-time Raiders news happens, you already know I'm going to put some videos out on Instagram, on Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. Today has been an extremely eventful day, and if you follow me on social media, you probably have already heard me talk about Lockett, DK, which is exactly why you should give me a follow on all social media platforms.